over here. Reach over here.
There you go. Just enjoy the ride. Rachel's first boat ride on Lake Cuyamaca. And this is me, your captain. I calmed her down at 20 minutes of full throttle. She's tired. When we first got in the boat, she was already trying to bite the throttle. Actually, she was biting it. There's a couple marks right there. You can see where she bit. I am 99% sure that that is a bald eagle. There's a condor up there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Only do one thing. That's what he is. Nice. It's a bald eagle. Yep, that was cool. That's a bald eagle. Okay, we're going in now. Now we're going in. I'd like to start, if I may, just by kind of giving you, what was your name again, sir?
Ryan.
Ryan, there it is right on the screen. Just kind of give you an overview of what it is, generally speaking, we're trying to accomplish overall. And then, I mean, if you can kind of jump in and talk about your specific questions that we address, and I'll go ahead and do likewise. It all comes down, Ryan, to this. We're going to have about 150 Cradlepoints or so out in the field doing student testing, obviously roughly the same amount of locations. And what we want to effectively do is minimize as much as possible the number of connection problems, calls we get, and things of that nature, A, and B, have some kind of way to monitor or even better control bandwidth on the SIM. So we're using two SIMs. We're using a Verizon SIM and an AT&T SIM. And we just don't want Cradlepoint overloaded. We don't want 100 students jumping onto one Cradlepoint if there's two in the office, or rather in the testing center, and overloading one. So basically what we're trying to do is quality of service as much as possible and minimize the amount of problems that might occur out in the field. And in addition to anything we might ask you on this call specifically, if you have anything else to add that could help us toward that end, we'd be appreciative of that, which is the reason why I like to record this so we can kind of go back and review as well.
We also had some questions regarding, since we have the 2200s running, we were wondering how does, once we have both modems plugged in, how does it decide how it's gonna use the modems and which like way it's gonna be configured essentially? I guess my question is, what sort of algorithm or what sort of like logic does the Cradlepoint have to go ahead and start using both modems? Because we noticed that we have to go into the settings to go ahead and activate both of the SIM cards. So that's the first question.
Yeah, so, okay, let's see. If we're talking about using two modems, I noticed you guys were talking about most of the stuff in this case is about data usage rules. You could either have both interfaces set to always on and do traffic steering to send certain traffic out one interface and certain traffic out the other interface, or you would use a load balancing algorithm to have them both active at the same time.
Can you give us an example of those visually so I can see them?
Yeah, so connection sets under WAN management. This is where you would set up load balancing. So it's currently disabled. We can set that to enabled. I don't have a second SIM in here right now, but so right here, this is extremely helpful. Decides the algorithm.
Can I jump in real quick? I'm sorry, Ryan. You're looking at a 1600 right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can we take a look at a 2200 and I can give you a last few digits on that if you want to look at one of the ones that we're using, if that's helpful at all.
This is going to be set up exactly the same, and this router is running 7030, so the second to most recent firmware that's out right now. So it's exactly the same. I mean, there's
Well,
no changes.
We're using 7.0.2. We've decided to stick on that because there seem to be some issues with for example, the SMTP device alerts off the 7.3.0 is something that Chip found, that it didn't work on 3.0. It did work on 4. It did work on 2. So we've decided, well, we don't know what the problems are with 4 since it just came out on Monday.
Right.
So let's just stick to 2. So we're on 2 right now, and we'll probably do that through testing.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
It's just for the students to connect to. Yeah.
Got it.
So one way would be trying to.
There you go. That happens to us too.
Well, that's just because I took the SIM door off to put another SIM.
Okay. That happens a lot though, to us anyway. What you just experienced, even just looking. I'll just be looking inside one of the Cradlepoints, just not even changing anything, and it'll do exactly that same error, and I have to refresh and reconnect. Even if it's within the 15-minute timeout window, it will still do it from time to time.
Well, any change to the modem, well, not any, but a lot of changes will essentially change will make it unplug and replug. So if that happens, then it's definitely going to break that remote connect.
Chip was under contention that it might have something to do with the fact that we have both SIMs on the same set, and then it's just rapidly switching between the two and disconnecting the session.
It could be. I mean, I can't see your connection, so I don't know if you're load balancing right now. I don't know if you just have them both set to always on. If they're both just set to always on, then that traffic is definitely just kind of going to go willy-nilly, wherever it wants.
I so very much just want to log into one of ours on your window, but I know.
Why not? I mean, I can put you the presenter, and we can do all this on your router. I mean, I would prefer that, really.
Okay.
And then we can do it on your screen.
Yeah, I can.
It's still going to record, so.
Okay, good. As long as it records. Yeah, let me bring it over to the other screen here so you can see it. You still there, Amin?
Yep, right here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep.
One thing with the load balancing is if you're in an area where AT&T isn't getting connected, then all the traffic is just going to go at your Verizon because they're both on in load balancing. So, I mean, if you're in an area where the connection is just absolutely poor, it probably won't choose the really poor connection just based on it doesn't have enough available bandwidth using the spillover.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's fine. I think that's so we're looking at even with the spillover and we don't do smart WAN, just based on what you just described, it sounds like it's gonna do what we need it to do.
Right, because you're always it should be choosing the best connection that you're getting.
Got it. Perfect.
Okay, this is just a quick go through for the pre-check on what it is and what we need, how to do that, how to navigate through it. I think most everyone already knows what this is about because we did it last year. We're not going to be using a form this year like we did last year. Instead, to start out with, at least, people will be scheduled to go out and do the pre-checks. As you can see on the schedule here, we've already done a few of them. For the first month, that is the month of March, I'll just be working with you over the phone. But once we get into April, especially mid-April, that's when things are going to really get busy. And when you're doing the speed tests, which would be these, of course, do not use speedtest.net or Ookla or anything like that. Do not use your cell phone. I had somebody connect their cell phone one time and they weren't even on an AT&T or a Verizon. They did a speed test with their cell phone. They're using a different carrier altogether. I was like, that's not going to help us. The speed tests need to be done through the Cradlepoint, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. You can do all of this, all these tests and everything else on your laptop. And in fact, I recommend You bring a laptop. Yeah, you can bring a Chromebook if you like to, just to make sure that opens up and connects correctly, but that's a different test. That's a Chromebook test. What we're talking about with this video is specifically the Cradlepoint test and their ability to pull a strong enough signal in any given location, so we know how strong or weak the signal is, how many that location might need as a result of the signal strength, the signal quality, versus the number of students that are going to be tested there. It helps us calculate, again, whether it's going to be 1 or 2 cradle points that need to be there, or 5 or 6 or 7 cradle points that need to be there. That's basically what this test does. So in a case like this, for example, First Baptist we tested last year, they had maybe not even this many, roughly about that last year. But the locations that are new, they're high priorities because we have no idea what the signal strength is there because we haven't been there before. And there's other variables that I'm using to calculate whether or not it's a high, medium, or low priority testing location, which I won't get into right now. Just assume that if you're there, it needs to be tested. So the things that need to be tested are the download speeds on the Verizon SIM, the download speeds on the AT&T SIM. And again, remember, we're doing this all through the Cradlepoint, not through anything else. And I'll show you that in a moment. Down and up. Down and up, down first, up second, down first, up second. AT&T and Verizon. Then I need the RSSI. Those are basically signal strength or quality signal strength. That's basically how strong is the signal from the tower to the cradle point, the cell tower to the cradle point. And it includes some variation of interference into that integer. I won't get into the mathematics of it, but basically that's what it is. So let's assume that you're at the location and the cradle point that you have with you ends the last 3 numbers on the MAC address are 634, because I think I just looked at that one recently, and I know that it's pretty solid. So let's say this is the one that you have. 634 are the last 3 digits on the MAC address. The same is true for all of the other ones. Let's go with 634. You're going to, let's check the bandwidth test. You're going to go ahead and check it. You're going to commands. You're going to speed test. I'll just do one. The first SIM is a Verizon SIM. Actually, no, I'm going to do an AT&T SIM because that has unlimited bandwidth. I don't want to take up any of the bandwidth on the Verizon SIM because that's limited. So we'll go with an AT&T. AT&T SIM, doesn't matter which one you do in what order, just make sure that you write it down correctly. You're writing down the correct SIM, whether it's up or whether it's down, and that it's correct. Pay attention to detail because it makes a difference. We'll do a download for 10 seconds just to show it. I'm sure that most of you have seen this already. And we'll see what we get. So this again is a download speed test on the AT&T SIM for this particular cradle point right there. So that's what you would record. For the AT&T SIM, the megabytes per second download is 9.8. You could just round it to the 10th. Then you would switch it and do it for upload, which we're not going to do. I would actually recommend at least 20 seconds. 20 seconds should be sufficient. But if you want to give it a little bit more time, 30 seconds is fine. Don't do more than 30 seconds. You don't need it. And don't do it less than 20. I just did 10 just to show it to you real quick. Once that's done, let's say that those are both done, those are both recorded, then you're going to go ahead and actually click on the link itself and go into the splash page, if you will, devices page. This is brand new from last year. This whole thing that you're looking at here looks very different than the way it did last year. The first page, if I may go back, 634. This looks identical. Nothing's changed in this interface from last year, but this one here, and this is the case for every cradle point that you click on. That, Glad. There you go. Every cradle point that you click on. This particular page is awesome. It's so much better than last year. Geolocation works. It's so cool. Look at that one's up in Sacramento. So what you're going to do when you get here, now we want to get the RSSI information that we talked about a moment ago. You're going to click in this box right here. This is just one link, as you can see. The whole box is the link. It doesn't matter where you click. The first one is the AT&T SIM, right? You're going to click on the link. We're going to get the RSSI for the AT&T SIM. I scroll all the way down to the bottom. RSSI is -60. Remember, -50 is greater than -60. Yes, 60 is greater than 50, but -50 is greater than -60. I know it sounds silly. It's important to remember that. So you'd write down for the RSSI for the AT&T SIM for this particular cradle point that the RSSI is -60. Then keep that right where it is and just click on this link for the Verizon. It'll pop you right over there and give you the Verizon one, and that's it.